Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining today. This is the All Things Teams in Government live event call. I will just give everyone one more minute to hop on, and then we'll go ahead and get started. Okay, for the sake of time, we're going to go ahead and get started. As you can see today, we have a little bit of a different format, but this is the All Things Teams in Government monthly call. And the reason it looks a little bit different today is because we are moving this series to a live event to accommodate for some more attendees. So if you're here now, you are in the right spot, and we would love your help communicating that if you see any confusion. And also note, we are going to cancel the old invite immediately after this call. So just know when you see that cancellation email, this series is not canceled. We're just canceling the old format in the old invite. And in a very suiting fashion today, we will be covering Teams live events. So let's go ahead and get started with some introductions. So for those of you who may be new to today's call, Bridget and I began this series a couple months back to just have some topics that cover government customers and to just give them a little bit more attention and to have an interactive call series with them. And as introductions, my name's Darby O'Brien. I am a customer success manager in state and local government, and I am out of Reston, Virginia, but I work with customers all across the US.
And my name is Bridget Ballard. I'm also a customer success manager based in Bellevue, Washington, and my customers are in the Pacific Northwest.
Awesome. So here we go. So as I said, today we are here to talk about Teams live events. And live events are one of the two types of meeting options that are offered inside of Teams. And we're excited to teach you a little bit more about them and how to utilize them and what to expect when setting one up or attending. So what we've noticed is live events are absolutely growing in popularity at the moment, especially amidst the work from home change that many of us are experiencing. So let's start by talking about how a live event is different from that traditional Teams call experience. So a typical regular Teams call is going to fit the bill for 99% of your conference call needs. It's that call that I'm sure most of you are most familiar with. It is perfect for one-on-one calls or department calls or team and project planning calls. That's because they're highly interactive, right? So everyone can come off mute, they can share their screen, they can share their videos. And in a regular Teams call, the attendee limit caps at 250 attendees. Now, in a Teams live event, think of it more like a broadcast. So it's a little bit more one way. So it's more of a one-to-many or few-to-many, and it's a great way to scale because the cap for a live event is 10,000 attendees. There are a couple different settings and nuances in live events, and we're going to cover them all today in a demo. But a big one that I want to point out before we get started is the ability for Q&A. So on your screen, there should be a little chat bubble with a question mark, and that is where we would encourage you to ask any questions you have during this meeting, and we will work to get you answers in real time. So just note that that is where that lives. So if you do have questions, please feel free to send them there. And in terms of some similarities between regular Teams meetings and those live event meetings, you're still going to have the capability to record and rewatch them. They can absolutely be internal and external. You can actually make these live events to the public so they can be viewable by anyone. And there is some interaction in both meetings. It just looks a little bit different. So if you could just shift slides there, Bridget. Mm-hmm. Thank you. So here are some of those details I just covered again, but I want to share a few ways that we are seeing customers utilize live events. So as I said, we have seen a huge increase in the need since the transition to work from home because it's a great way to broadcast a message. So some of the things we are seeing are people using live events for trainings or court hearings, public board meetings. They're great for company news and company updates. And we've also seen them be used for a lot of more fun use cases like org-wide workout classes, etc., because it's a great way to do that few to many so everyone can watch the broadcast at their own time. And just keep those ideas in mind as Bridget runs through this demo and think about how your organization could be utilizing them too. And without further ado, I will hand it over to Bridget to demo them for you.
Thanks, Darby. All right, so just give me 1 second. I'm going to switch my screen here into my demo tenant. All right, so first we're going to go over exactly how to schedule a live event inside of your team's desktop client. So I want to be clear that in order to schedule the live event, you must go either inside the web version or inside the desktop version. Unfortunately, you cannot schedule a live event from Outlook, but you can schedule a normal Teams meeting from your Outlook. I want to make that distinction before we begin. So similar to how I would schedule a meeting, you go up to the top, schedule a new meeting. And now when you're brought into this panel right here, you see at the top, new meeting with a drop down. Now I'm going to click new live event. So you'll see that it's similar to what the meeting invite looks like. So first I'll start with my title. And then location. So let's say that a few of you were going to gather in a conference room to do the broadcast. You could still mark that location in here as well. And then you can set your start and end time. So let's pick a time that's a little bit later on. And then provide info down about the live event down here as well, similar to how you would in a normal meeting. Now over here on the right-hand side is where you're going to invite your presenters and producers. So before I jump into that, I'd like to make the distinction between the two. The person that is the producer is going to have access into what we call the producer panel. Now on the back end right now, Darby and I are controlling who is sharing the screen, who is moderating the chat, and other things which I'll demo later. So that person that is going to be the producer is the one that's going to need to be controlling everything that I just mentioned. Now, I also have the ability to go in and invite somebody called a presenter. Now, Deborah is going to have the ability to share her screen, but she is not the person that's going to be controlling everything happening in the back end. But she's able to join the call, talk with everybody that's on the back end, and she's able to share her screen out. Darby, I'm not sure if there's any specific questions that are coming in about producer or presenter that I can address before we move on.
I think we're good for right now.
Awesome. Okay. So let's say I wanted to invite somebody else too. You can invite somebody else as a producer. It doesn't just have to be one, but the organizer is automatically set as that producer, and then you need to actually go in and change it if you don't want the organizer to be the producer. Now, it's important that you do have multiple producers. If you only have one, and so let's say Darby started the meeting, but Darby needs to leave partway through, if she's the one that started the meeting, it will end. So it is important that you have multiple producers in order to keep everything flowing and in order for there to be enough people inside to answer Q&A and make sure everything is running smoothly. All right, so I'm going to go to my next page right here. And this is where we have all of the live event settings. Now, it's important that if you want this live event to be viewable by the public, that you select the public icon. This is something that must be set inside the Teams administration panel, which we are not going to have time to cover today, but what we will do is point you in the direction of some ways that you can get that turned on in your admin panel on the point drive following this call. So if you don't see it in your tenant, you'll want to ask your IT department to go ahead and open that up for you. So when you do public, there is no sign-in required. So anybody can view the URL that's shared. So down here, I have producing our live events. Now, all of these are automatically checked, and it's up to you to check if you would whether you want them or not. So if you have the recording available to everybody, what will happen is the URL that you clicked on will actually store the recording for 180 days. So instead of downloading the video and posting it somewhere, you can actually just send people that URL link. Now, this is my favorite that we have in our live events is the caption. So I can choose the spoken language and I can choose up to 6 languages that I want to translate it in. So as a best practice, it's always important to make sure that that's checked off. We also have what we call the attendee engagement report. So following your live event, you can actually pull a report of everybody that joined. It'll show you what browser they logged in on. It'll show you how many people needed to join and how many people left. So you can get all those analytics following the meeting. Lastly, it's important to select Q&A if you'd like to have the moderated question and answer session similar to what you see inside of the meeting that you're in now. In the Q&A, this will allow the presenters and the producers to moderate all chat coming in from the public. And for a question to be published, it actually takes that moderator going in and publishing it live. Otherwise, all questions are shown as private when they come in. So down here, you see there's an area for a support address. So if you have an internal support address, you can actually link it to your live event down here. So anywhere that you need to direct your users, if they're having issues logging in to the live event, you can add that to your invite down here. Okay, so I'm going to click schedule. Great. And now you'll see that I have the live event meeting invite down here. Now I want to stress the difference between this invite and the attendee URL link that you'll see at the top. This invite is for all the members on the back end. So Joanna, Nestor, and Deborah. You will not want to forward this out to your attendees as this gives them access into the producer panel and it's not the official attendee link. So you'll notice we provide a little statement that says do not forward, and down here it clarifies it too. Join as a producer or presenter for the live event. So in order to go out and schedule the meeting for your attendees, you'll want to get your attendee link right here. And then as a best practice, I always go and immediately schedule that attendee facing one. So I'll schedule a new meeting. And then you can copy and paste that URL into here. So you'll have it at the same time as you had the other one. And this one will just be the URL for attendees. So we'll name it the same thing. Now this URL is a bit long. What we recommend is using a URL shortener. We typically recommend Bitly. That's one of the free ones. What I like to do is I like to just embed the link within a join button. So I'll just type join and I'll embed that link in the join so that when people go to click on it, they just have to click the little join icon that I've made. So similar to how you'd schedule an Outlook or how you schedule a normal meeting, I can start inviting others from here. But what's cool is you can also copy and paste this link onto your public facing website. So again, if you want people to join from the public, you can post this anywhere and anybody can click on this URL link to come and view your live event. Darby, do we have any questions about scheduling before I show what it looks like to jump into the live event?
I think we've all addressed them so far.
Awesome. Okay, so you'll see, let me see if I can zoom in. And now you'll see over here on the right-hand side, I have both of my events right here. So you'll notice it's the live event with this little icon down here. And this is what tells you that this is the producer and presenter invite right here. And then this one over here is just a general meeting placeholder that I put the attendee link in. Okay, so I'm going to switch back into the PowerPoint. I can actually not show you the demo panel without being inside my desktop. So unfortunately, I can't share my screen because I'm also producing a live event right now. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up the slideshow again. Okay. So you'll see, ooh, sorry, I don't want the animations to play. Just give me 1 sec. I'm just going to do it from this panel. Are you able to see it, Darby?
Yep, I can see it.
Perfect. Okay. Thanks for your patience, everybody. So this is what it looks like when you actually go in to join as a producer. You'll notice it says at the top, join as producer, and it looks similar to when you go and join a regular Teams meeting. You can still set your device settings, turn your camera on and off, mute your microphone, etc. But you'll notice down here at the bottom, let's say that you wanted to join as an attendee instead, you have that option here down at the bottom too. Okay, so when I was talking about the production panel, this is what that looks like in here. You'll see that Daniela is now the producer inside the meeting, and she is the one that is controlling all of this in the back end. You'll see in the center of your screen, there's a queue, and then there's the live event. What you can do is queue up the content, and when you're ready to send it live, what you'll do is you'll click send live and it'll jump over into this live event over here. And I'll show you some slides on that in a second. Quickly, want to show you the Q&A. So at the top right here, you'll see the little Q&A button. Now there's multiple things on the producer side. I'm sorry, my animations are running here. Multiple things on the producer side. You have your Q&A and your chat. So right now, this is showing the actual chat, and this button right here is the Q&A. So you'll notice in the chat, let's say that Darby needed to message me something during the live event. So this person is actually calling out Babek and asking him to join. So it's important to designate the chat via the Q&A, because this chat is only viewable by the presenters and the producers, where the Q&A is where you'll go to publish those questions. Okay, and now what I was mentioning before about the queue, so you'll see Daniela shared her desktop. Now she's placed it into the queue, and when she's ready to start the live event, she'll click send live. And now she'll click start, and as soon as she clicks starts, it'll officially go live to attendees. You'll see up at the top that the live button is red, and you'll see that she also has the ability to click end right here. So when you're red, you're live. If you accidentally click end before it's over, it will end the live event and you will not be able to go back into the link. So it's important that when you're switching content, you only put it into the queue and you only click send live. End does not mean end that content and start new content. End means end the whole live event, which is an important distinction there. Now you'll see at the bottom, Daniela also has the ability to stop sharing and mute. So if somebody else was in here with her, let's say Darby was in here and Darby wanted to speak with her camera on. Well, I would actually go and cue Darby into here. And then when I send her live, she would come on with her video. Something else that's a cool thing to look at is right here on the middle left, right under here, you'll see these two boxes. So there's a box with a little sliver cut out on the side. If you click that, you can actually present a PowerPoint and speak at the same time. So if I had that clicked right now, you'd be able to see my PowerPoint and then also my video next to it. This is great for leadership discussions or city council meetings per se. If there's something that you need to speak to, but you also want to see that person live, this is a great way to be able to do both. Darby, are there any questions about the producer panel before I show what it looks like to go into the attendee link?
We don't have any at this time.
Cool. And so this is what it looks like to attend a live event in Teams. So all you'll do is go and click on the meeting invite. And then you'll click the link and you'll see what I was mentioning, they linked the URL into just this grouping of words right here. So you'll go and you'll click on this and it will take you directly to the live event. And now this is what it looks like to watch the live event as an attendee. And this person is viewing it from inside the desktop application. Now you also can view a live event as an attendee on the web version. You can use either one. So this is why it's such a great option for those to to be able to produce out to the public because they might not have Teams. They can easily join online. And what will pop up for them is just something that says, would you like to input your name or would you like to join anonymously? And then it starts the live event for them right online as well. Then this is similar to what you guys are seeing now. You'll see the live event Q&A. And this is where you can ask the questions for moderator approval, and you can also post as anonymous. And you'll notice when you post a question, it says pending approval. So there's two ways that we can answer questions on the back end. We can answer them privately and send you the answer. Or if it's a question that's a really good question that we want others to be able to see as well, we can publish it, and then that's available to everybody inside the meeting. So that's all we have for the demo. Are there any questions, maybe ones that you answered that would be helpful to go over again in the demo?
We do have a great question that would be nice to address to everyone, Bridget, and that is, where can you schedule a live event versus where you cannot? So the ability to schedule a live event only in the desktop version of Teams.
Great question. So there currently is not a live event add-in for Outlook. So what I was showing earlier, you do need to go ahead and schedule that live event inside of your application. And you can do it inside the web application or your desktop app. This, what you're seeing right now, is actually Teams via the web, so you can absolutely do it in here. But again, it does need to be inside of the Teams client, whether it's desktop or the web. And just to go over that again, you'll click New Meeting in the top corner, and then you'll have the option of keeping it at a meeting, or you can click a live event here. Now that link that I was showing that you get when you schedule the live event, the attendee link, you can put that link wherever. You can go and you can schedule an Outlook invite and put the attendee link in there and send it off, or you can post it on the web as well. But all live events must be made inside of the tenant.
And Bridget, it's important to point out that to produce or present a live event, you have to do it from the Teams desktop client. You can't produce a live event from a mobile device.
Yeah, that's a great call out. Thank you, Nash. So it is important when you go to start your meeting, like Nash said, you will need to be in the desktop application to run that production panel that you saw. There's no way to do that on the mobile device or in the web client.
Yep. But attendees can watch an event from a mobile device, but it's very important that if you've got like a senior executive who's used to doing meetings from their phone, because you can be in a regular Teams meeting as a presenter from a phone. For a live event, you do have to actually be on the desktop app on Windows or Mac OS.
Great call out. Well, we have a bit more time. I'm not sure if there's any other questions that we can answer or something that might be beneficial that I wasn't able to share.
Can you go to the presenter view? We've got a question about the split screen. And so this is actually in regards to like out of the box, how could I show a sign language interpreter? And so as the producer, you'll be able to frame a shot. And while what we see here in this example is a full screen view, and you can have a full screen of shared content like a desktop or a PowerPoint or whatever, you can also have a full screen view of someone's camera. But right next to that full screen view is the option to do a split screen where the main window would be a piece of content, whether it's a PowerPoint or someone's shared desktop. And on the right, you'd be able to go and add someone's webcam. There we go, if you hit that compose view. So you certainly could have an ASL interpreter joined as a presenter sharing their webcam and compose those two things together. Out of the box, this is designed to be really simple, right? So if you've got an AV production crew that does your public television broadcasts, they're going to come in here and be like, oh, well, I want to do these other 50 things. You can do those other 50 things in other ways, but out of the box, this is designed so that an executive's administrative assistant could produce one of these for them to have an all-hands meeting. So it's designed to be very simple and very powerful. And when you want to get to the advanced things like how do I do multi-camera setups, there are definitely ways to do that. I did publish a link to the Town Hall Tuesdays where if you want to get the AV Geek version of this, we've got one of our AV Geeks who can go real deep into those things. And we've got lots of good workarounds, like having one of the desktops be shared out with the presenter view in the Hollywood square showing 4 people's cameras at once. So it doesn't have to be super hard or super complicated. Yeah. So thanks for showing the split screen view.
Yeah, and I think another important thing to mention too is we'll see the woman down here, Daniela, is sharing her desktop. But as you were mentioning, so when you go to click share, similar into a Teams meeting, so you can see right now I'm sharing my desktop. You can see all the applications on my computer, and that's so that I could switch quickly into my other screen into this. But let's say that you only wanted to share a PowerPoint and you didn't want anything else to show up. When you go to click start sharing, it'll show which windows are available to show. So I could have just shown you the PowerPoint, or I could have just shown you my OneNote. So you don't have to share your desktop if you don't want people to see what's on specifically on your screen if you go to minimize a window.
Hey, Bridget, I think it might also be worth pointing out the way that these recordings work and how everyone on the call could rewatch this call once it's over.
Yeah, great. So live events are actually stored in the URL for 180 days. So you can go back and click on this link for the, for the next while, up to 180 days, and you can watch the recording via that link. Now, Darby and I can also download it and put it in our point drive so it's consistent. So we'll do that as well. But if you just save this invite that you received from Darby, you can go back and click on that link at any time to go and view this video. And again, I do want to call out what I was showing before, that public option to make your live events public. That's something that is set at your IT level. So if you don't see it and it is something that you would need, you'll need to partner with your IT department to go ahead and get that public option turned on. But if we don't have any other questions, we can give people a little bit time back on this Friday. This is pretty straightforward, like Nash was saying, out of the box. We made it so it's easy for all users to be able to spin this up and get started quickly, but there are many other options that you can do to kind of make this a broader, a little bit fancier option as well. Darby and I will put our emails in the announcements, and our emails are also on the point drive. So if you have any questions about how you can make this work for your organization, feel free to email us and we'll be sure to loop the proper team members involved as well. Darby, do you have anything else to add?
I don't think so, but we can go ahead and stick around for a couple minutes and we can continue to answer any questions that come up. But
cool. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing my screen, but I will stay online.
We're getting lots of questions about, hey, can we compose specific shots, like with 2 or 3 videos, and really out of the box in the simple view, you either have the ability to have a full screen of just one thing, or a composited view of content in the main window and a camera on the smaller side on the right. If you inside of Teams want to get a little more fancy, we see people who will go and have a designated presenter join to the meeting who is going to share their screen with the presenter view, which will show like that Brady Bunch camera view of 4x4 as people are talking. So that's great for public meetings to do that, as well as to go and do the presenter view of main content at the top with the film strip view of videos down at the bottom. But that isn't just a pre-composed view. You got to have someone else who's in there as a presenter sharing their desktop with those views to do that.
Yeah, I also see a statement in here about policies. So that's correct. You don't have to set this as a global policy if you don't want to. If you have certain users that are going to be scheduling public events, you can absolutely just give them the credentials to be able to set those certain policies. It doesn't have to be global.
I think another important thing to just point out as a best practice is what you can see Bridget and Nash and I are doing right here is we invited a couple people to that presenting team, and that is to help moderate the Q&A. So just as a best practice, I would say, and jump in if you disagree, but I'd say about every 100 attendees, go ahead and invite an extra person to the presenting team to help with those questions.
Yeah, I'm just going to share this quick so we're not looking at a blank screen. But I saw a question too about sharing audio. So you can share audio. Nash, you might be better equipped at answering this. I can speak to the mixing a little bit, but if you have I'm sure you have a clearer answer.
Yeah, the question is about, can you share system audio? So if you go and share your desktop out and go to YouTube and play a video, by default, you're not getting the audio from that stream. Now in a regular Teams meeting, you can hit share and you can select share system audio. Well, that feature doesn't exist in a live event today. It's coming, it's on the roadmap. There's a help article that acknowledges that. And the user voice item has been marked as we're in final testing for it. So we're hopeful we'll see that in the next month or two to just natively be able to share system audio like you can in any Teams meeting. In the meantime, you can go and have someone set in the meeting as a presenter and have them use a virtual microphone to go and do that. And there's software called Jack and VB, the virtual audio cord, and I'll throw the links in chat here in a second, which can let you go and compose your own system audio or share out your system audio using a virtual microphone. You'd want to have a separate person connected to the event, else you would have to go into your settings and switch from your regular microphone to that special microphone to go and play your video and switch back, and that might be a little cumbersome. So if you're doing this as part of a presentation, maybe that's just one of the production crew's job, is to be there and join to the meeting as a presenter with the right mic to hit play on the video or play the audio ahead of time. A little bit of a workaround, but totally doable today. It'll get really, really simple with that checkbox to be able to share system audio in the near future. And I'll throw those links in there right now. What else are we seeing for questions? I think we've got all of the recording questions answered. So there's a question of where is it stored, and they ask if it's in Stream. Regular Teams meetings, when they're recorded, are uploaded to Stream. Live events are not recorded in Stream because they're actually done through Azure Media Services. So you won't find it in Stream, you'll find it in Azure Media Services. But when you go and hit that start button, all the things that are being produced and presented are getting set up to Azure Media Services, where they're being encoded at every possible bit rates that you can watch from a cell phone, from high bandwidth and low bandwidth and all that stuff, as well as that's where we do the text or the speech to text for the closed captions and the automatic machine translation if we're translating the captions into other languages. So that file is actually stored up in Azure Media Services. It does not count against your Stream storage quota. And it will be there, I think, for 6 months. I'll have to quick find the documentation on that. Pretty sure it's 6 months.
All right, are we seeing anything else? If not, we can go ahead and close it out for Friday. All right.
It's looking good. I'm just going to paste those links in chat and we'll go from there.
Sounds good. Well, for those of you that are still on, thanks so much for sticking around with us a little bit after. Next month, we're going to be covering meetings best practices. So if you want to dive a little bit more into best meeting practice etiquette, and we'll explore the device settings a little bit. So we'll do a little bit of a deep dive into there. But thank you all again for joining, and stay healthy and safe out there.